Yeah. Oh, Black Everything. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's happening? Like, subscribe, share, do all of that. We back. We sharing this knowledge, this information, brainwash. We're coming right back where we left off for the last episode. So go ahead, check them out. You know what I'm saying? You can find them out, in the description. Other past videos, please check them out. Got music videos for you. Got our own, you know what I'm saying, custom made. You did. Automatic home. Banker's plight. Check them out. All of that. But we back, Tom Burrell. Brainwash. Do your own research. Always. Don't take my word for it or nobody else's. But he was talking about the progress. Let's see, exceptional exceptions. And he left off with, ironically, in many ways, the progress paradox is an impediment to substantive collective progress. And we continue on with, consider recent FBI crime statistics, census figures associated with poverty, or the oh yeah, I don't own the rights to this music. Excuse me to interrupt. Disclaimer: we just vibing to it, but thumbs up, like, subscribe, share, all that. We coming right back into it, and it says, consider recent FBI crime statistics, census figures associated with poverty, or the conclusions found in the book put out annually by the National Urban League, The State of Black America. They reveal the same ongoing depressing themes: social chaos, irresponsible spending, economic stagnation, and disproportionate death and incarceration rates. No matter what the category, blacks statistically trail behind whites and other ethnicities in some areas, such as educational achievement and overall life expectancy. Our numbers are actually getting worse. Regardless of our individual social, economic, or media success, it has not affected the black bottom line. Therefore, though black progress is more visible today than ever before, I maintain that the unwritten, audacious promotion of white superiority and black inferiority was and still is the most effective and successful marketing propaganda campaign in the history of the world. African Americans, no matter how savvy, educated, or financially privileged, could not completely avoid the conditioning that resulted from increasingly sophisticated bombardment of subtle and not so subtle messages created to reinforce how different and inherently inferior blacks are when compared to whites. Bullshit. But in this perpetual state of otherness, there is no disputing our unequal status. Like Coca-Cola, the black inferiority product has been modernized and updated with time. But don't be mistaken. The intent is to keep the original message firmly embedded in our psyches. White superiority was and is, unless we block the negativity, will always be the real thing. Early indoctrination into my own inferiority fueled the determination to succeed. I remember coming to a conscious decision when I reached adulthood that rather than continue internalizing the hurt and humiliation, I just showed them. Gotta do something about it. Gotta do something. What you gonna do? You gonna continue the cycle? Shit, not me. Check it. I tried to deal with it in a variety of ways, starting with the idea of fooling the man, making all believe that I was something other than what they said. Some days I try my best. Other days I just want to give in, accept the lesser status, and engage in cynical behavior. Ultimately, I chose quote, fake it till you make it, end quote, approach. The fake it till you make it excuse me. Spoofing the public until I was financially secure enough to retire into a category of my own design. This line of thinking continued until I was more than 40 years old, well after I had established my marketing firm. Burrell Communications was touted as for mastering the skills of positive commercial propaganda. Perhaps it was because of our commitment to understanding, mastering, and utilizing savvy techniques required to sell products and influence behavior that certain realities finally clarified and eventually inspired this journey. All I know for sure is that at some point it dawned on me that I was not faking. I was indeed just as smart, just as brave, just as disciplined, and just as beautiful as what I thought I was pretending to be. The more I learned about the origin of my own issues, which had been festering from the legacy of chattel slavery, the more I was able to see the same wounds in others. It was then that I realized that most Americans had been brainwashed, all of us, indoctrinated from birth. You here now? You been there. Or you still in there. Gotta get out, gotta come out, dig your way out. So, and it continues. Propaganda campaigns. Maybe I'm expressing a sense of atonement, or maybe it's just that I don't want to leave this planet without putting my life skills to the ultimate test. I decided to adopt a strategy similar to that of Edward Bernays, the nephew of the famous psychiatrist Sigmund Freud. Bernays was considered by many experts to be the first public relations professional. In fact, he takes credit for inventing the term. Bernays adapted some of Uncle Sigmund's revolutionary psychological studies to aid the government's World War II media offense and help manipulate the American masses for fun and profit. Bernays didn't call himself a propagandist. Back then, the Germans had already given the word a negative taint, and the negative taint that it still carries today. Instead, Bernays called himself a public relations expert. In a very real way, his first propaganda triumph was to change the image of propaganda itself. In a way, this book follows Bernays' lead. The intent is to thoroughly dissect this white superiority, black inferiority phenomenon, demonstrate how it still retards our social, personal, and economic advancement, and then help Americans flip the script to neutralize the techniques. Flip that script. Shit, it's that time. See, things like this is gonna help. Let's go. Unlike Bernays, I have no intention of shying away from the term propaganda. I say we use it. Take what take what was thrown at us, shuck it off, and replace it with positive propaganda. Propaganda is the outer layer of this brainwashing onion. After all, in the marketing world, propaganda is the first tool utilized to achieve a desired outcome. Brainwashing is the outcome, but propaganda got us here, and its continued use keeps the inferior superior mind game in play. Instead of using torture and other coercive techniques, the stealthy media savvy propagandists use mass media and other forms of communication to change minds and mold ways of thinking. In the United States, the first society in theory governed by popular opinion, propaganda became a critical tool of the wealthy governing elite. For instance, the powerful words freedom and justice for all overshadowed the reality that both were denied to black slaves. Yet those words, as propaganda tools, helped solidify the image of a burgeoning nation. There are many many propaganda principles, but here are a few that I believe were prime importance. Were of prime importance in the 18th century Black inferiority marketing strategy. These principles were employed throughout the colonial period of late 1700s, Reconstruction in the late 1800s, the 20th century civil rights movement, and still survive in modern times. The big lie, the repeated and constant articulation of a partial, distorted, or manufactured truth. Number one, colonial era. Black slaves are subhuman beasts. Number two, Reconstruction era. Emancipated blacks are still inferior to whites. Number three, Civil Rights era. Blacks are angry, dangerous, unemployable, and addicted to welfare. Number four, Modern era. Low income blacks are innate failures responsible for their own moral and economic decline. Appeal to fear. Here's the appeal to fear section. The purposeful effort to instill apprehension and panic. Number one, colonial era. Changing the status of black slaves will threaten our livelihood and destroy our way of life. Reconstruction era. Emancipated blacks will seek revenge and rape white women. Number three, civil rights era. Blacks are revolutionary communists. They're moving too fast and want too much at once. Black power really means race war. And modern era. Low income blacks are violent and prone to crime. They threaten property values and must be contained or incarcerated. And the appeal to justice, appeal to prejudice, attaching a value or moral label to flawed but well-established perceptions. In the colonial era, whites are physically, mentally, and morally superior to blacks. Reconstruction era, blacks want and need to be subjugated. They cannot function freely in society. Number three, civil rights era. Whites have earned economic and social privilege through hard work, discipline, high morals, and family values. And number five, modern era. Social and economic woes are attributed solely to irresponsible black parenting, crime coddling communities, and a sense of perceived victimization. And at last, we have stereotyping. Exaggerated established perceptions of physical or cultural traits, attaching negative attributes to an entire group. In the colonial era, black slaves are uncivilized, childlike, and content with bondage. Reconstruction era, emancipated blacks are buffoons, lazy, illiterate, and rapists. Civil rights era, blacks are angry, impatient, and murderers. And in the modern era, low-income blacks are drug-addicted criminals, oversexed, dependent on government assistance, and irresponsible. Go like that. We're gonna continue. Let me see. Now we're gonna come back. That's all Black Everything. This session here. Another excerpt chapter. Brainwash. We at chapter 3, I believe. No, we in chapter 1. Excuse me. Chapter 1 of Brainwash. Check it out. Thank you for checking it out. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Get it up. Peace, love, Black power. All day long. All Black everything.